Tell I tell is sad but true. These folks are kin to me and you. They live, they love, they work, they cry. This tell I tell is how they die. At the old mill dam, they forged across. Soldiers came, their cause was lost. To the Mingo swamp, they made their way. Hide in a house that sealed their fate. In the Mingo swamp, the sympathizers died. The soldiers ran into the field to hide, and blood was spilled on the ground that day. Babes and men, and they left them laid. To Greenbrier Hill they were carried away. 29 souls to one lonely grave. Above Cato slew their fate was sure. Mingo swamp, that's the truth. This is just the way it is over at my mom's. Whenever you come in, you're liable to see 50 people sitting around eating supper, or picking and grinning. And we wrote this song. It's called "The Long Supper Table of the Lord," and I hope you get a kick out of it. In his lifetime, my dad worked several men at the sawmill or through farming. And as a young boy, I remember sitting down for supper late in the evening. Many times someone would pull up outside to talk business with Dad, or just visit. Mom would peek through the kitchen window and say, "Invite them in, we've got plenty." My dad would open the screen door back as far as it would go, and he'd motion for whoever it was to come on in. We're sitting down for supper, and there's plenty. Come on in. You know, God does the same thing. He'll stand at the door, holding it wide open, and say, "Come, there's room for all. Just come." So, if you've ever come by to visit, or if we've ever eaten a meal together, or if we've ever worshiped the Lord together, come on in, sit down. Your family. since then, Abraham there at the table.